When I started working with direct response marketing, I didn't understand some fundamental concepts that I'm going to share with you right now that'll help you have better campaigns and better results from all your marketing. Hi, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. Writing copy is not enough. In order for your copy to turn into something of value, it must generate leads and generate sales. If your copy doesn't do these things, then it's just an exercise. It's not really anything. In fact, many copywriters, including myself, have written volumes of sales letters and lead generation pieces and postcard campaigns and pay-per-click campaigns and other things that simply sit on the shelf and never turn into anything of value. Well, that's because many fear that first campaign. They fear they're going to spend a few $100s or a few $1,000s and send a campaign and nothing is going to happen. And I originally thought that was like the death of marketing. I understood the fundamentals of direct response. I knew what I was looking for, and I sent 20 letters and nothing happened. Now, this was way back when I was running my computer consultancy, and I sent 20 letters and nothing happened. I'd been a salesperson before. I have sold by knocking on doors, and I had got tired of knocking on doors and asking them if they had computers. And then if they had computers, I introduced them to some concepts and ideas that might help make their computers more productive. And I left them a flyer and went to the next door. But I usually took their business card, and I was knocking on doors, going through industrial parks. And I'm just a 19-year-old kid doing this, and I'm getting a couple customers here and there. It usually was that computer problem. It was during the .com, and that was that computer problem they were having when they dialed up to the internet, and it was slow and all this. So I would make it blazing fast at 28.8 or 9600 baud. But the point I'm making here is that I ended up not running out of doors to knock on, and it was taking up a huge amount of time. And I ended up getting to the point where I was only knocking on the doors next to the places where I was doing computer services. But I wasn't doing enough computer services to get money. And this is the 90s. So I ended up picking up a few programs about direct response. I think it was Ted Nicholas. I got some of his materials. I ran across a guy, a couple of old guys like Melvin Powers and those folks, and I was looking at their materials and getting this concept that I've already knocked on the door. I already have the name of the decision maker, and I have the address. Why not send them a letter? Now, today you might be saying, well, send an email. You can go scavenge their email online. Well, no, these are qualified individuals because I knew they each had computer systems in their offices. So I send them a letter. I started sending 20 letters every week, and I thought I was doing something, but I never, ever got any replies. Nobody ever called. Nothing ever happened. I tuned the letters a little bit, but ultimately I got discouraged. See, you started in copywriting and you understand the concepts of leveraging the postal service to help you reach more customers. You understand the effects of search engines and how you can find buyers searching for particular products. You know about the demographics in the use of retargeting, where you can get someone to come to your website under a specific qualification. Then you can follow them around the internet, then generate a lead. You know all this stuff, but you don't do any of it. And I know I've been there. But ultimately, I sent the letters, 20 letters. I got frustrated, and then I went out looking for a mentor. So this was 1996 or so. I was doing the letters. I got frustrated. I ended up seeing like Tom Hopkins, and I tuned my letters up based on what Tom Hopkins said. I started making phone calls and sending letters, but I ended up getting business and didn't have the time to be on the phone, to be knocking on doors, or sending letters that weren't working. So what did I do? Well, I had an assistant in the office, and I had written scripts around my telephone calls based on what I was doing when I knocked on doors and was in the office. And I also had a number of letters that periodically got me at least callbacks. So what I did is I actually had my assistant start sending the letters every week, but I was only sending like 20. But she kind of misunderstood what I said and started sending 20 letters every day. So here's the deal. I had a list of about 300 to 400 contacts in the system. Now, today I'd be sending a prospect newsletter. I'd be following them around the internet. I'd be doing a lot of things to qualify and get them into a funnel of some kind. But back then I was dumb as a rock. I hardly understood what I was doing. I thought I was a computer genius, and I was really, if I got a customer, I would do a lot of business with them. And so what happened, she misunderstood, and she started sending letters, 20 letters a day. Now, the same number of people responded if you look at my overall campaign. So it was about when I got about 200 people or 500 people, I'd get 1 or 2 sales. So my safe number has always been 1 sale for every 200 letters. Now, that might mean I got a lot of calls or a little bit of calls, but I was selling a service. It was nearly always a minimum of 1 sale for every 200 letters. But here's the interesting thing. It wasn't always at the 200 letter mark that 1 sale came in. I might have to send 500 letters before I got the 1 sale. I might have to send almost 1,000 letters before I got the 1 sale, because there were external conditions like the economy, how busy my customers were. There were always external conditions, but I never had to send 2,000 letters to get 1 sale. Do you see what I'm saying here? Very often we do too little in our marketing. We're doing the right thing. We might even be doing it with the right people, but we're doing too little of it, and then we get frustrated or distracted or pulled aside. So if you're a copywriter, what you really must be doing, and later in 2000 something, I learned about Dan Kennedy and their magnetic marketing letter. Now, if you don't know who Dan Kennedy is or the magnetic marketing letter, you've got to visit www.adbriefings.co.uk and ask us about them, because the magnetic marketing series, which is a series of letters that offer a special report. I wasn't offering a special report. I was offering folks to come to the office and I did a presentation, or I'd come to their office and do a training. But it just worked like gangbusters. I eventually got to the point where I was sending 500 letters a week. I had 4 or 5 people in the office and they were stuffing envelopes and stuff. And this is before I understand how print shops work or mailing houses work. But I was able to draw in for about every 10 letters I put out, I had a really good solid appointment, which included a walkthrough. And for every, I think it was about 25 letters I put out, I would end up getting 1 customer. I also was getting a customer for about $297. Now, this is very important, and this is what comes after you start getting campaigns going. But for about $297, I'd get a customer that was worth about 5 figures. So they might be worth $10,000, they might be worth $25,000, $50,000. And then later I figured out I was getting more hospitals, and I was getting more businesses, industrial parks, and then I started getting lists, and it was going crazy. But I eventually, because I had all my employees stuffing envelopes and sending letters, they weren't collecting the money that fast, and I had a lot of overdue receivables, and then I had a lot of angry customers because the invoices didn't go out. Long story short, my 20-something self made a lot of mistakes. Let's run down those mistakes really quick. And then I'm going to share with you a resource that you can get your hands on to implement, whether it's Dan Kennedy's magnetic marketing, whether it's Frank Kern's results in advance, whether it's Gary Halbert's methods, John Carlton's methods. The basics come in the fact that it's not going to be 20 letters and then you're magically going to have customers. It might be 500 letters before you magically get a customer. You might need to take a cell. And if I'm going to be using language that you may not know, so be sure to get in and ask questions about it. But you might need to take a cell of 500 letters and compare it against a cell of 500 letters, and then use a service that actually does retargeting as well. And that way you can see A versus B. And with that A versus B, you can keep running that campaign on your list until you get a number of responses that tells you which one's statistically accurate. You can also, what I ended up doing later is what's called farm clubs. And off the top of my head, I don't have that name, but the farm club is where you take 100 to 150 contacts and you just mail a series to them. So it's not enough letters in one individual mailing in order to know if the letter is good, but it's the fact that you're sending a letter this week, and then next week you're sending a postcard, and then the following week you're sending them an email, and then you're just walking through a series of offers for them to raise their hand while you're tuning your list. So you'll send 150 letters a week or 150 prospect newsletters a month, and you're concentrating all your effort on this very small list. So it's a mistake to believe that a few letters will magically create results, no matter how good the letter is, because it may not reach the customer at the right time. It's also a mistake to think that because they're in your address book, they're a prospect. Now, I really grind down and drill into the qualifications of the buyer, before I even send them a letter. Some folks on the newsletter say, well, why aren't you pitching us stuff? Why is it seems you're bouncing around? Well, I'd also ask the question, why is it that the huge advertising agencies really aren't generating leads on their website? But if you get it up in their database somehow, you're going to be getting phone calls, you're going to be getting letters, you're going to be getting shock and awe boxes, you're going to be getting all kinds of direct stuff. Well, don't judge your campaigns based on what other people are doing or what you can see them do. Instead, find that ideal buyer and go directly to them. Send them letters, send them lump email, you can send them email, but nobody really checks email. And a lot of email doesn't even get delivered. Start showing up at the events that they go to. Start doing the things that is selling. See, it's not about showing them how creative you are. As a copywriter or a marketing consultant or a business development consultant, it's not about showing them how clever you are. Madison Avenue folks can do that all day because they've got a lot of money coming in, a lot of dumb money. You, on the other hand, have to demonstrate to customers first by building trust to get the demonstration, but then demonstrate to the customers that you can do what they are expecting. You can also, in fact, create your own customers that are developed in the fact that there are businesses that already purchase direct response copywriting. So you narrow your list down to direct response copywriting. That was a mistake I made. I was after a while, the letters were working pretty good. I had that 25-to-1 ratio. I started just adding Chamber of Commerce lists. I started adding all kinds of lists rather than thinking I need people with computers. See, so you're going to have this qualification. The next mistake I made is I didn't have an avatar. I was really, anybody that could breathe, I'd let them be a customer. Well, that got me a lot of customers that couldn't pay their bills. And so I ended up chasing a lot of customers that were slow pay. I started chasing customers that had other problems. I eventually got a system in place that used two concepts. One concept was to recycle the marketing that clients had that already worked. So I took my business development skills and basically applied them on my business, used the marketing that already worked for me, kept building a library of recycled marketing. I'd send the same letter rewritten, basically spinning the letter 10 or 15 times. And so over the course of the year, that customer got like 12 of the same offer. But it didn't seem like the same offer because one told a story, one gave some tips, one was a white paper. I put some variation in there. Another thing was event marketing. So I was doing events that were demonstration events. I was doing events at customer sites. I was doing a lot of Y2K stuff. We had a huge Y2K business going there for a little while. Obviously, that was only a one-year business because Y2K was a one-time event, and it was mostly build-up. But that event marketing was solid. And event marketing can be building up to the event, which is your teleseminar, or building up to your event, which is your webinar. It could also be building up to your event, which is getting the people in a room and doing a demo meeting and a close. But those two things just start building out the business. So again, another mistake I made was doing it in-house, but you don't want to do it in-house. You want to use tools and resources, and you'll find it's just as easy to send a letter as it is to send a mail. You also want to know that it's not going to be 20 letters in a sale or 200 letters in a sale. Sometimes you got to get enough letters out in the marketplace to enough of the qualified right people in order to even know if something's going to work. And just because, if you haven't sent 2,500 letters out for one creative, you really don't know if that's going to do anything. Now, you can do topic testing, which we teach, and get a better idea. And maybe your 200th letter guarantees a one sale, but you're going to have to get a couple letters out there first. And the big marketers fail too. They fail 99% of the time, but they've set the economics up so that 1% of success, that 1% response is a good position to be in. You can listen to this again to go over the mistakes. The key point is that you want to drive forward, and I promised you a resource. If you visit www.sustainablewealthsecrets, that's another website. If you visit www.adbriefings.co.uk, you can ask for Patrick Quinn's How to Get Business as a Copywriter. And what you'll find is an old school approach to finding qualified buyers, people who are already paying for copywriting, getting in front of them in a meaningful way, not just posting on a social media site and hoping somebody sees it. I mean, going directly to the buyer. And you'll see ideas and concepts that can be applied in the modern world with great results. So, for example, if you hire a mailing house, many mailing houses can send your letter and set up your Google retargeting on that same list. So that prospect is going to get your letter in the mail and then be targeted on, it depends on your customer, be targeted on LinkedIn or Facebook or Google or all three. But ultimately, folks, please, please, please keep driving forward. Set aside $1,000 a month, $500 a month. Send 20 letters a day. Send 20 letters a week. Do what you can do to get started right now. First, generating leads so that we're qualifying individuals and drilling down into who's a buyer. And then once you find a buyer, making sure you just stay in front of that person until they're either in a consultation or they got your first assignment. But again, if you visit www.adbriefings.co.uk, you can use the little help button in the corner, ask about Patrick Quinn's program, and I'll send you the PDF of that, and it shows you exactly how to get customers. And if you don't have an overflow of customers as a copywriter, writing more practice copy isn't going to help. You need to get in front of them with lead generation offers. You need to get in front of them with sales offers. You need to be presenting. And we're going to help you get your first clients. We're going to help you get your first $1 million as far as copywriting business is concerned. And then we're going to compress that down so that you're getting $1 million in business a year. Thanks for listening. I'm Justin Hint with Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, where we help you write words that sell. But we also are helping you write words that sell your services. So thanks for listening, and visit us at www.adbriefings.co.uk.